Right now, millions of people are watching a Hollywood Odysseus fight his way home across the sea. Most of them assume it's pure fantasy, monsters, witches, angry gods. But 150 years ago, a stubborn German millionaire named Heinrich Schliemann made a very different assumption. He read Homer not as a fairy tale, but as a map. He took his fortune, sailed to a dusty hill in Turkey called Hisarlik, and started digging. What he found under that hill is why we're still asking the question, how much of this story actually happened? The Odyssey is a sequel. It's the journey home from a war, the Trojan War. So was the Odyssey real is really three questions stacked on top of each other. Was there a Troy? Was there a war? And was there ever a clever king trying to get home from it? The answers get stranger as we go. Under Schliemann's hill, there wasn't one city. There were 9, stacked on top of each other like a layer cake. 3,000 years of Troys, each built on the ruins of the last. And here's the tragic comedy. Schliemann, in his hurry, dug a massive trench straight down, right through the Troy he was looking for, destroying part of it forever. The golden treasure of Priam he pulled out and photographed, on his own wife, as the jewels of Helen, about 1,000 years too old. Wrong Troy, wrong millennium. Right hill, because when archaeologists slowed down and did it properly, they found the layer that matters. Troy 7a, date of death, around 1180 BC, exactly when Greek tradition placed the war, and it didn't fade away. It burned. Fire across the city, arrowheads embedded in the walls, skeletons left unburied in the streets, a pile of sling stones stacked beside the palace, ready for a fight. A real city, meeting a violent end, at the right time, and then it gets better, because the other side kept paperwork. The Hittite Empire, the superpower of ancient Turkey, left clay archives. In them, a city called Wilusa, which most scholars read as Ilion, Troy. A sea people called the Achaeawa, the Archaeans, Homer's word for the Greeks. At least 4 separate conflicts recorded around that city. And one treaty, signed by a ruler of Wilusa, whose name was Alexandru, Alexandros, which happens to be Homer's other name for the Prince of Troy, Paris. A real Alexander of Troy, signing a real contract pressed into clay. Now the honest part. No tablet anywhere says the Greeks sacked Wilusa over a woman. A burned layer proves a city died. Not who killed it, or why. And the wooden horse? Almost certainly poetry. Even ancient writers were suspicious. Some guessed it was a siege machine, others a metaphor. The horse was the sacred animal of Poseidon, the god of earthquakes. And earthquakes, unlike giant wooden gifts, actually did level cities on that coast. Here's the wildest part of the whole story. The war, if it happened, was around 1180 BC. Homer composed his poems around the 700s BC, 400 years apart. And in between, Greece didn't just lose the war's details, it lost writing itself. The old script died with the Bronze Age world. For 15 or 20 generations, the story survived in one place only, the mouths of bards who couldn't read. Rhythm, repetition, and fixed phrases. The wine-dark sea, rosy-fingered dawn, worked like memory hardware. A kernel of truth, carried 4 centuries by voice alone, growing gods and monsters along the way. So what about the man himself? Ithaca is real. You can fly there. Troy is real. Everything between them is a 2,000-year-old argument. Geographers were already fighting about the route in Roman times, and people are still trying to put GPS coordinates on the land of the Lotus Eaters today. As for Odysseus, no inscription, no treaty, no grave. And yet, a cunning king from a small island in the west is exactly the kind of person the Bronze Age was full of. He can't be proven. He doesn't need to be. He's what a real type of man looks like after the legend swallows him. And one more thing makes the story ring true. Right around Troy 7a's death, the entire Bronze Age world collapsed. Palaces burned from Greece to the Levant, trade died, kingdoms vanished. If you've watched our first video, you know this pattern. The Odyssey is a homecoming story, invented by people whose whole world had just ended. A man sailing through ruins, monsters, and dead men's shores, trying to find one house still standing. That's not fantasy. That's memory, wearing a costume. So, was the Odyssey real? There was a Troy. It died violently, at the right time. Real Greeks fought real wars around it, and a real Alexander of Troy signed a real treaty. Then 400 years of retelling wrapped that kernel in everything humans fear and hope. The Odyssey isn't a report. It's what truth looks like after 20 generations carry it by heart. And the retelling never stopped. 2,800 years later, it just topped the global box office again. The story has now outlived the war, the city, the empire, even the alphabet it was born in, which might be the most real thing about it. If this made something click, subscribe. One big question, plainly answered every week.